The brothers' jealousy changed everything. There are moments in life when everything appears normal until one decision changes the entire future. For young Joseph, the days before his great trial were filled with innocence, love, and happiness. He lived in the home of his father Jacob, surrounded by family and blessings. He was a child with a pure heart, loved deeply by his father and guided by faith. But behind the walls of that same home, something dangerous was growing. Not everyone looked at Joseph with love. Some looked at him with jealousy. And jealousy, when it enters the heart and is ignored, can become one of the most destructive emotions a person can carry. After Joseph shared his remarkable dream with his father, Jacob immediately understood that this was not an ordinary dream. Joseph had seen the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing before him. It was a vision that carried a great meaning and showed that Allah had prepared a special future for him. Jacob did not reject the dream. Instead, he became concerned. He knew that a blessing from Allah can sometimes become a test because not everyone has the same ability to accept the success or honor given to others. With love and wisdom, Jacob advised his son, "Do not tell your brothers about this dream." Jacob was not hiding the truth forever. He was protecting Joseph from hearts that might not understand. Because Jacob knew something important. A person's greatest enemies are not always strangers. Sometimes the greatest challenges come from those closest to them. Joseph's brothers had already been carrying feelings of resentment for a long time. They looked at their younger brother and believed that their father loved him more than them. They forgot the years of care and guidance Jacob had given them. They focused only on one thing. Joseph was special. Instead of seeing his goodness as something to admire, they saw it as something unfair. Every smile Jacob gave Joseph became, in their minds, evidence that they were being ignored. Every kind word Joseph received increased their frustration. Their problem was not Joseph. Their problem was the way they allowed jealousy to control their hearts. Jealousy is dangerous because it changes the way people see reality. It makes someone else's blessing feel like a personal loss. It convinces a person that removing another person's success will finally bring them happiness. But happiness built on someone else's pain never lasts. Slowly, the brothers began speaking about Joseph in a different way. The loving relationship between siblings started disappearing. The brother they once knew became, in their eyes, a problem that needed to be removed. One day, away from their father's presence, they gathered together and began discussing Joseph. Their words revealed the darkness that had entered their hearts. "Our father loves Joseph and his brother more than us. We are many, we are stronger, we have more experience, yet he still chooses them." The conversation continued, and every angry word pushed them further away from compassion. Instead of asking how they could become better sons, they asked how they could remove the person they blamed. Then came the most terrifying suggestion. One of them said, "Kill Joseph." The atmosphere suddenly changed. Even with all their jealousy, those words were shocking. Taking the life of their own brother was a terrible thought. For a moment, perhaps some of them realized how far they had gone. But instead of returning to what was right, they searched for another way to continue their plan. Another brother suggested, "Do not kill him. Throw him into the bottom of a well. A caravan passing by will find him and take him away to another land." They convinced themselves that this was a better choice. But betrayal remains betrayal, even if someone tries to make it sound less cruel. Their goal was the same. They wanted Joseph gone. They wanted to remove the person they believed was standing between them and their father's love. They did not understand that love cannot be gained through destruction. A person cannot create happiness by causing suffering to someone innocent. After agreeing on their plan, they knew there was one person they needed to convince: their father Jacob. They knew Jacob loved Joseph deeply. They knew he would never send Joseph away without a strong reason. So they prepared their words carefully. They would not show anger. They would not reveal jealousy. They would pretend to be caring brothers who only wanted to spend time with Joseph. The next morning they approached Jacob. Their faces appeared calm. Their voices sounded gentle. "Father," they said, "why don't you let Joseph come with us? He can enjoy himself, play with us, and spend the day outside." But Jacob's heart felt uneasy. A father's heart often notices things that words cannot explain. He looked at his sons and remembered his responsibility to protect Joseph. He answered, "I fear that you may take him away, and that a wolf may eat him while you are unaware." The brothers immediately responded with confidence. "How could that happen while we are a group of strong men? If a wolf defeated us, then we would truly be losers." Their words sounded convincing, but behind those words was a hidden plan that Jacob could not see. After hesitation, Jacob finally allowed Joseph to go with them. Joseph was happy. He trusted his brothers completely. He had no idea that the journey ahead would become the greatest test of his young life. As Joseph walked away from his father's home, he believed he was simply going on a normal trip, but destiny was preparing a moment that would change his life forever. Because sometimes Allah allows a person to enter the darkest place before leading them toward the greatest victory.
Wow.
To a concede, but Joseph was walking toward a moment he could never have imagined. The fields became quieter. The familiar paths around his father's home disappeared behind him. The voices that once sounded like the voices of his brothers slowly became distant and cold. Joseph looked at them with trust. He did not know that while he was walking beside them, they were carrying a secret plan in their hearts. For Joseph, they were still his family. They were still his older brothers. He believed that they wanted to spend time with him, protect him, and share a simple day together. But for the brothers, this journey was not about happiness. It was about removing Joseph from their lives. As they traveled farther away from their home, the moment they had planned finally arrived. They reached a place where there was an old, deep well, a place far from people's eyes, a place where no one could easily hear Joseph's cries. The brothers looked at each other. They knew what they had decided. This was the moment when jealousy would lead them to commit an unforgettable betrayal. Joseph began to realize that something was wrong. The kindness they showed in front of their father had disappeared. The smiles were gone. The comforting words were replaced by silence. The young boy who trusted his brothers suddenly found himself surrounded by people whose hearts had changed. They approached him. Joseph was confused. He could not understand why the people he loved were treating him this way. "What are you doing?" he asked. But the hearts that had once known him as a brother were now controlled by anger and jealousy. They took away the shirt that his father loved to see him wearing. That shirt was a symbol of Jacob's love for his son. Then they grabbed Joseph and lowered him into the darkness of the well. Imagine that moment, a young child alone in a deep well, separated from his family, separated from his father, with no idea what would happen next. Above him were the same brothers who had promised to protect him, but now they were walking away. For any human being, this would have been a moment of complete despair. But Joseph was never truly alone. Even in the deepest darkness, Allah's care surrounded him. At the moment when everything seemed lost, Allah gave Joseph reassurance and hope. He was informed that one day he would face these same brothers again. A day would come when the balance would completely change. The one who was thrown away would become honored. The one who was abandoned would become powerful. And those who caused his suffering would one day stand before him needing his help. Joseph did not know when that day would come. He did not know how it would happen, but he knew that Allah's plan was greater than his pain. Meanwhile, above the well, the brothers began preparing the final part of their deception. They knew that abandoning Joseph was only half of their plan. They also needed to convince Jacob. They needed a story. They needed evidence. So they took Joseph's shirt and covered it with false blood. They believed that when their father saw the shirt, he would accept their words. They thought their lie was perfect, but they forgot something important. A lie may fool people for a short time, but it can never escape the knowledge of Allah. When night arrived, the brothers returned home. But they did not return with Joseph. They came back crying. Their voices were filled with sadness they did not truly feel. They approached Jacob and delivered the terrible news. "Father, we went racing with one another and left Joseph with our belongings. Then a wolf came and ate him." They spoke with confidence. They showed him the blood-covered shirt. They expected him to believe them. But Jacob immediately noticed something unusual. The shirt had blood on it, but it was not torn. There were no signs of a struggle, no damage. No evidence that a wolf had attacked Joseph, only a false story. A father's heart was broken, but his faith remained strong. Jacob understood that something terrible had happened. He knew his sons were hiding the truth, yet he did not respond with anger or revenge. Instead, he turned to Allah. He knew that only Allah knew the full reality of what had happened. With patience and trust, Jacob said, "So patience is most fitting, and Allah is the one whose help is sought against what you describe." These words revealed the strength of a believer's heart. Jacob was suffering. His beloved son was missing. His own children had betrayed him. But he refused to lose hope. He chose patience. He chose faith. And he knew that Allah's wisdom was greater than what his eyes could see. Far away from his father, Joseph remained inside the well. The world above him had changed forever. The family he trusted had left him. The future he imagined had disappeared. But what Joseph did not know was that this painful moment was actually the beginning of an extraordinary journey. The well was not the end of Joseph's story. It was the first step toward his destiny. Soon a caravan would pass by. Soon strangers would discover him. Soon Joseph would leave his homeland and begin a journey that would take him from a forgotten child in a dark well to a position of honor unlike anything he could have imagined. Because Allah's plans are sometimes hidden behind the hardest moments. And the story of Joseph was only beginning.